IELTS Cast, episode 33.
You're listening to IELTS Cast, the podcast that puts you in touch with successful IELTS candidates from around the world. Listen and learn as they explain how they achieved Band 7, 8 and even 9. Now, here's your host, Ryan.
Hello and welcome to IELTS Cast. Today I am speaking with Patrick. Patrick is a very unique individual in that he has become an Australian. He's originally Singaporean and has received permanent residency in Canada and is on the path to becoming a Canadian. Patrick is the brains behind 101migration.com, which is a licensed firm that helps people looking to immigrate to Australia or to Canada. They're licensed in both countries to provide guidance and information to those seeking to immigrate to those countries. Patrick is here today and he's going to answer my questions about the immigration process, and he's going to answer several of your questions, which we have received over the past week. So, hello, Patrick. Welcome to IELTS Cast.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, let's talk a bit about where you are now. So, you're currently in Vancouver and operating out of Vancouver. And before we started the recording, you were telling me that Vancouver is one of your favorite places.
Oh, yes, of course. Because of the nature and stuff like that.
How long have you been in Vancouver?
On and off for the last 4 years. Yeah, I've been flying in and out of Canada and Australia.
Right, yeah. And you travel quite a bit with your business, you were saying.
It's only China, Australia, and Canada.
A lot of people have this idea that Canada is constant snow and dreary weather and cold.
I just finished 2 weeks of sunshine in Vancouver. It was like 31 degrees most of the time. I was wearing shorts. So it's not really a place where you see snow 365 days a year. So yeah, you do have summer days. You do have your winter days.
Absolutely.
So I guess it's a good option. Yeah.
Now, Patrick and I are going to talk about the immigration process. So he has been through both the Australian immigration process and he's working his way through the Canadian immigration process. At the moment, he holds permanent residency in Canada. I have a few questions that I'm going to ask Patrick about. And we've received several emails from people that are looking to pursue Australian citizenship, Canadian citizenship. And Patrick's going to provide his professional advice to the questions that these people have sent in.
Yes.
Okay. Patrick, so my first question for you is, I'm curious what the biggest challenge was that you faced.
I guess for mine was the change of immigration law during the process when I was putting into Australia. I was kind of set back for 2 years. I have to go to Australia for 2 years in order to apply for a permanent residency then. I guess for Canada I was fine. It was in 2005. So the law has not changed yet. It only changed in 2008 when they imposed occupation list, which is still up to now is still there, occupation list. But way before when I was applying, there isn't any such list when we apply. So I guess we shouldn't procrastinate too much if we want to consider applying for permanent residency to either these two countries.
Now, for a person that's just starting the immigration process, do you want to explain what is occupational lease?
It's a list that the country put in to invite or to attract certain occupations. For example, there is engineer, there is accountants, like finance for Canada. So they attract different occupations, people who are in this occupation into the country. So this only come into place for Canada in 2008.
I see. We were talking about some of the questions before we started the recorded conversation, and you had mentioned that one of the other major challenges that you had was restarting your life all over again. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate with that. Do you want to talk about your experience at all?
Yeah, I mean, going to a new country, definitely you will, going to restart everything again, as in getting a house, getting new friends, even your habit. Let's say that the habit that you go to the same coffee shop every morning. All this got to change when you move into a new place. Your culture difference and stuff like that. That is a challenge that I faced when I moved from Australia to Canada. I got to start all over again, as in looking for a place to live, find my friends, place to go, even the roads. Some of the street, I'm not even familiar with it. This is starting new life to most of the people. Yeah.
And so, how long did it take before you felt kind of comfortable and you felt like your old self again?
For Canada, it's about, I don't know. Depends on how much you go out, how fast you make friends. It took me about a few months. Yeah, I have to join society. I have to put in the effort, I guess, to really find friends out there. Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest problems that many people have is to really find someone that they can friend with. I mean, someone that they don't feel lonely. Most of the new migrants I spoke to, they feel lonely in a new country. So yeah, I guess it's the biggest problem that they will face.
Are there things that you would have done differently?
In terms of immigration process?
Yeah, in terms of the immigration process, are there things you would have done differently?
Things that I would have done differently. I can't really tell now. But I remember was maybe don't procrastinate too much, I guess. There was a point of time when I wanted to, I didn't want to put in Canada application then because it cost another $1,000 or something for the application. So I was procrastinating whether should I put in next year or so. But in the end, I put it in after I have spoken to someone. So I guess it did not affect me. It did not affect me because I was lucky. I spoke to someone, we discussed about it, and then we were thinking, what is another $1,000? So I did put it in. I did manage to put it in. If I were to procrastinate and waited maybe 2 years from then, I would have lost my chance to even come to Canada because, as I said, in 2008 they imposed the occupation list for the application.
So it sounds as though your advice to anyone listening is if you're thinking about it to just get the ball rolling as soon as you can.
Yes, before law changes. Yeah, the immigration law change almost every year, definitely. But I don't know for Australia it's maybe twice a year. Every July, December, they will do something about it. They will change something. Whether it will affect you or not, but they will still change something about it. Yeah.
Is there an age after which you think people would be best to not pursue the immigration process to Australia or Canada?
Okay. In terms of age, there is no restriction, so to speak, but maybe the points will be lesser. You will be deprived to even come. Let's say if you are over 50 and your points meet the minimum requirement to get into either one of these two countries. I guess the hardest part is the same as what I spoke about earlier, and that is to get into the culture, get into the friends, find the right clique that you wish to find. I guess as you grow older, it's harder to really do that. But I still see people who manage to survive when they move to a new country. So for age limit, maybe after 50, I guess it's harder. Yeah, because you kind of set yourself certain kind of habits, certain kind of rules in yourself where you can't adapt as easy as young people do.
So I'm curious then what the naturalization ceremony was like when you became Australian.
Well, I remember it was it's not as big because my ceremony was not held on a public holiday, so the crowd there was not as big as, let's say, Australia Day or Anzac Day, or it was it's good enough. It was held in a town hall in one of the one of the small little town in Australia. So it was nice. I remember standing there waiting to say my vow to delegate to Australia, and to receive and at the end of the day receive my Australian citizenship. I mean, the certificate was a bit quite nice, quite a nice feeling though. The council, the people from the council actually came and attend the ceremony. Beside that, I remember because my friend couldn't make it, so I only have like one or two friends who came. But yeah, it was nice. It was a nice day because the day finally arrived when you waiting for this day for a few years.
Now let's turn the conversation to the questions that have been emailed in. And before we get rolling, I should state that we are unable to answer all of the questions. Some of the questions asked information that is a bit sensitive, and Patrick he wouldn't be able to state that publicly. And other questions were extremely broad. For example, several people wrote in, "How do I become Australian?" And Patrick could take the next 3 days to explain that. So we're not going to be answering the extremely broad questions, but we will be looking at the specific questions and the questions from people that shared certain details about their background. And with these details, Patrick can provide some professional advice. So the first question is from Ajish, who is who is traveling on an Indian passport at the moment, and he asks, "Did Patrick find it easier to achieve Australian PR or Canadian PR?"
For my case, I found it easy for myself to get Canada PR. Reason being, at a point of time, there isn't any, as I was saying, there wasn't any occupation list for me. But for Australia, then my points was short of 5 points. So I have to stay in Australia for 2 years in order to have that 5 points, sorry. So I have the 5 points to become permanent residents of Australia. So for me, it's easier to get into Canada, but that doesn't mean current law to everybody, because it's really up to individual case. For example, their occupation, their age, to really justify which is easier for them. Yeah,
I see. And so, Patrick, just in your professional experience, I mean, if you were to average the cases and the hurdles that people have to jump, to become Australian, to become Canadian, is one country on average, in ways easier than the other, or?
Okay, if you put it that way, that Canada is easier because Canada has more programs. You have more ways to get into Canada. This is what I see. For Australia, the programs is not as many as what Canada has to offer. So it's kind of restricted in a way. So if you say that you want to migrate to, let's say, Australia, we also have to look at other things like your occupation. If your occupation suits coming into Canada, then I would advise that why don't you consider Canada. But and also for Australia, in most cases, most of the IELTS, they need to have sevens for all bands. For example, in an accountant need 4 bands because of the skill assessment. They need 7 for 4 bands academics tests in order to get the skill assessment done. But that is not so for Canada. The Canada minimum now is only 6 general for all bands. So it really depends on individuals what their criteria is.
Yeah, and the IELTS community, I mean, everybody's bloodthirsty for that 7, and it's interesting to hear you say that that there are certain avenues in Canada which will accept a 6 across all bands in the general, and that's not the case at all in Australia.
Yeah, so it's kind of easy for to enter Canada actually.
I see. Our next question is from Phoebe. Phoebe is traveling on a Chinese passport, and her question is, I hold a graduated visa in Australia, and I am working towards Australian permanent residency. Can this Australian graduated visa also help in my pursuit of Canadian permanent residency?
This question, these 2 countries are different. So, having said that, their immigration law is different. So you can't just jump from one country to another, thinking that they are the same 2 countries. They are not. So you got to look at individuals' immigration law to apply. Yeah.
I see. Okay. If someone were an Australian, does that make it? I mean, if they were to become Australian in the way that you did, does that make it any easier to become Canadian afterwards?
No, definitely no. It's also have to look at the individual cases.
Right.
What criteria they have, what point system they have to justify that, because it's 2 different countries. They are not the same. So one start with an A, one start with a C. So they're 2 different countries. You can't just jump from Australia to Canada just like that. That's not the way. Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3 is from Zaina. Zaina's traveling on a Sudanese passport, and the question is, I'm applying for immigration to Canada through Quebec. Will learning French help accelerate my immigration process?
The answer for now is no, because the application is already in the immigration with the immigration. So you can't just speed up anything because it's already in. You can't just tell them that, oh, I have this extra French knowledge, so can you speed up my application? Yeah, you can't just do that. If you want, you can do it beforehand. You can tell them, oh, I have French, I have all these criteria that I have, my points is higher. Maybe that will help a bit, but I don't think it will help if your application is already in and you want to improve your points. Yeah.
I see. So what is the circumstance with Quebec? When I lived in China, from time to time, I would go to the Canadian consulate in Shanghai for personal reasons, to get a new passport, for example, or this or that, just associated with being a Canadian in China. And I would see pamphlets at the consulate that were encouraging people to pursue a life in Quebec. Are there any benefits, to immigrating to Quebec versus other parts of Canada?
Benefit. The program is different. So certain people find it easier to go into Quebec than other part of Canada. So I guess it's up to individual. Yeah, it's hard to say from here.
Okay. Question number 4 is from Dr. Mohanad. Dr. Mohanad is on a Syrian passport. He's currently in Saudi Arabia, and he writes, Dear Patrick, I have been practicing as a dental specialist and medical manager in Saudi Arabia for more than 13 years. I meet all conditions needed for immigration under the skilled workers category as a dentist. Dentists are not listed, are not on the list of required professions, so I am intending to apply under the medical manager category. Although I have a letter indicating my experience as a practicing medical manager, I do not have a degree in management. Will I need to present such degrees after applying?
Oh, not really. For this medical manager, you have to look into the job description that you're doing. Not so much of the title that you gave me. You can call yourself anything, but what is most important is what you actually do in the job that justify your title and not the other way around. So I have to really look at what you do in your last, you were saying 13 years of your experience. So it's really what you do in these 13 years that justify what you are. Sorry, I'll jump to second question. Sorry, okay,
no,
you can
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to ask you. So I think what Dr. Mohammed is asking is the weight of his letters indicating his experience as a practicing medical manager, would they be equal in any way to a degree, because he doesn't hold a degree?
Okay. Certain. Okay. For his case, you don't need to have a degree in medical manager or management in order to be a medical manager. So what I'm saying is, for this case only, the job that you do now, medical manager, can actually comes with the experience that you're doing. I don't know whether I explained enough. Okay, for example, let's say you call yourself accountant. You don't have an accounting degree. Yeah, that will affect your application, because you have to have a certain degree to call yourself accountant. But for medical manager, it's kind of a broad occupation. So you don't need to have, let's say, a medical manager management degree in order to be that.
Okay.
Because for his case, it's different. He is already a dentist, so he has some medical background.
I see.
So for this case, it's different. I can't speak for everyone, but for this case, it's different because he is a dentist and he worked as a medical manager. So yes, he can call himself medical manager as long as the job that he does justify that.
I see. Okay. So I guess the question to will I need to present such degrees after applying would be no.
Yeah, of course no. Yeah, but if you have it, let's say you have a business admin or business management, yeah, maybe it will help a bit. Yeah.
I see. The next question is from Lee. Lee is on a Malaysian passport and is currently working in Singapore. Lee's question is, I have not taken the IELTS. Can I still apply for jobs in Canada and Australia?
Okay. To answer this question, to get a work visa for Australia or for Canada, you definitely need to have certain level of IELTS in order to get the visa and work legally in these two countries. So you do have to have IELTS test result to qualify. Yeah.
And that's true for both Canada and Australia.
Yes, that's true for both Canada and Australia.
I see. And what would be so I guess for Australia, would it still be the lowest would be 7 across?
Oh, no. For this case, for his case, he said that he just want to work. For work is 4 bands of 6.
For Australia.
For Australia.
And
for Canada, it's different. It depends on the occupation. Certain occupation needs about maybe 4.5, some 4s. It really depends. For Canada, it's different. So I can't speak for all.
I see. The next question is from Rajat, who's traveling on an Indian passport. And the question reads, Hi Patrick, I am 25 and have the option to either work or study in Canada. Which option creates a better foundation for immigration?
For this case, for her, she should consider studying in Canada. Because once you study here, you can work. You can get a work visa after that, and then you expand your chances of becoming permanent residency, and provided you can find a job in Canada. So yeah, it's better. It's easier that way than to jump straight to here to get a job because first of all, you don't have a visa. No employer will employ you seriously. Unless you are special, you have a special skills, then yes, you can get a work visa. But if you are a general occupation, then it's better off to study over here first in Canada.
Our last question is from Sushila, who's traveling on a Nepalese passport, and she asks, I have had my application for visa to the UK rejected. I am wondering whether a record of visa rejection can work against a person's pursuit of Canadian or Australian citizenship.
To answer this, the visa rejection just mainly on a visa to enter UK does not affect anything to come into Canada or Australia. But having said that, I have to know what the reason is. If let's say you are rejected because you are criminal, you have a criminal record, then that will speak for all three countries, UK, Australia, or Canada. If you have a criminal record, it's hard to get into this country. But if your rejection was due to, let's say, not enough funds or I don't know what other reason there is, this will not affect your application into Canada or Australia.
And how about if you were rejected several times, an Australian visa, you were rejected an Australian visa several times, not for anything criminally related?
Yeah, medical is also the other.
Right.
It's another reason that it will affect Canada or Australia. So it really depends on what is the reason why you got rejected. That I have to really see the rejection letter to know what to advise from there. But if most cases, let's say you got rejected to come into Australia due to you have a friends in Australia, they suspect that they will overstay. Such reason, you can. It doesn't affect anything because Australia sometimes they oversee things. They are worried that you will overstay. You have a tendency to stay longer than you should. So that reason of rejection will not affect anything.
I see. Okay, so that concludes the questions that we've received via email. So Patrick, let's talk a little bit about the service that you provide, and maybe you can just tell us a bit about the website and what you can do for people that are looking to immigrate to Australia and Canada.
Basically, what I do is I have two streams in my company. One is to, of course, the normal one, which is the immigration. I help people to apply all kinds of visa to get into Australia or Canada. All kinds, work visa, skilled business, even spouse sponsorship. I do that as well. So I help the whole process from the start to the end. And this is my main business in this 101migration.com. The other side of the business is to help students to get into a school in either countries. And of course, after they got into a school, I will help them to apply for study visa to get there to study. So we have two streams or two business in this website.
So it sounds as though you kind of take the headache away from, because the immigration process is complicated, it's constantly changing, as you've said, and you just help kind of smooth the transition for people. There's not so much, it's not a big daunting thing that they have to worry about, it's something that you worry about on their behalf.
Yeah, if you put it that way, yes, this is what I do. We advise all the way from the start to the end, what kind of documents you need and things like that, even the right things you write in the letter. We will advise from everything. I mean, just to get you the visa that you need to get into these two countries.
Okay, great. Well, Patrick, I want to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing this wonderful advice regarding how people can make their way to Australia or Canada if that's their ambition. So thank you very much for sharing your time today.
No, thanks for having me. It has been a good experience.
Thank you for downloading from ielts.com. Have you achieved an overall band of 7 or higher on the IELTS exam? Why not contribute to the podcast? Contact Ryan at his blog, ielts.com.